Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak Up English, the podcast made especially for English learners around the world. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike. Today's topic is something so many of our listeners write to us about. Have you ever had this feeling? You watch a movie in English, you understand everything, but when someone asks you a question in English, your mouth just freezes?
Oh, Mike, you just described my first 2 years of learning English. I used to understand my teacher perfectly, but the moment she looked at me and said, "Sarah, what do you think?" Complete silence.
Exactly, and this is actually a very common problem. It even has a name. Researchers call it the comprehension production gap. It means your listening skills are much stronger than your speaking skills.
Today, we're going to talk about 8 powerful tips to help you finally unlock your speaking voice. So grab your notebook and let's get started.
All right, tip number 1, and this might surprise you, is stop waiting until you feel ready.
Yes, so many learners say, "I'll start speaking when my English is better." But Mike, what's the problem with that thinking?
The problem is, speaking is how you get better. You cannot swim by reading about swimming. You have to jump in the water. Speaking English is exactly the same.
I love that example. And here's something important to understand. Even native speakers make mistakes. Even people who study English for 20 years still sometimes say the wrong word.
So the goal is not to speak perfectly. The goal is to communicate. Big difference.
Right, so starting today, give yourself permission to speak imperfect English. An imperfect sentence spoken out loud is 1,000 times better than a perfect sentence that stays inside your head.
Well said, Sarah. Well said.
Okay, tip number 2, talk to yourself. And no, this does not mean you are going crazy.
It's actually one of the most effective techniques used by language learners worldwide. When you're alone, in the shower, cooking dinner, walking to work, describe what you're doing in English.
For example, you're making breakfast. You can say, "I'm taking 2 eggs from the fridge. I'm going to make an omelet. I need some salt and pepper."
This does 2 very important things. First, it forces your brain to connect English words with real situations. Second, it builds the habit of thinking in English, not translating from your native language.
And that translation habit, thinking in your language first, then translating, is actually one of the biggest reasons people speak slowly or freeze up. When you practice talking to yourself in English, you start to skip that step.
So this week, try it. 5 minutes a day of talking to yourself in English. Your neighbors might look at you a little strangely, but your English will improve dramatically.
Tip number 3, shadow native speakers. Now, Sarah, can you explain what shadowing means for our listeners?
Of course, shadowing means you listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they say, almost at the same time, like an echo. You copy not just the words, but also the rhythm, the intonation, the speed, everything.
And the beautiful thing about shadowing is that you're not just practicing vocabulary, you're practicing the music of English. Every language has its own music, its own up and down patterns.
Exactly. For example, in English, we often stress the most important word in a sentence. I didn't say he stole the money. And I didn't say he stole the money. Same words, totally different meaning.
Great example. So for shadowing, we recommend starting with podcast episodes like this one, TED Talks for beginners, or YouTube channels designed for English learners. Listen once, then listen again and speak along.
It feels a little uncomfortable at first, almost like singing along to a song when you don't know all the words yet, but keep going. After 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be amazed at how natural your speech starts to sound.
Tip number 4, learn phrases, not just words. Mike, this is something you feel strongly about, right?
Absolutely. Most textbooks teach you individual words. Apple, run, beautiful. But real conversations don't happen in individual words. They happen in phrases and chunks.
For example, instead of just learning the word agree, learn the phrases "I completely agree." That's a good point. I see what you mean. I'm not sure about that, but these are called conversation chunks, and they're like pre-built pieces of language.
When you have these chunks ready in your memory, you don't have to build sentences from scratch every time you speak. You just grab the chunk and use it. This makes speaking so much faster and more natural.
So, our advice every day learn one new phrase, not just one new word. Write it down, say it out loud 10 times, and try to use it in a real conversation that day.
All right, we're halfway through. Tip number 5. Find a speaking partner or language exchange buddy.
This is a game changer. A language exchange is when you find someone who speaks English natively and wants to learn your language. You help them, they help you. Win-win.
There are apps and websites like Tandem, HelloTalk, and Speaky where you can find these partners for free. You can have text conversations, voice calls, or even video chats.
The psychological benefit here is huge. When you know your partner is also a learner, or when your partner is kind and patient, the fear of making mistakes goes way down.
And fear, by the way, is the number one enemy of speaking. Not lack of vocabulary, not bad grammar. Fear. So anything you can do to reduce that fear is worth trying.
Another option, if you can't find a language partner, is to join online communities on Reddit or Facebook, where English learners post voice messages and give each other feedback. The community is usually very supportive.
Tip number 6. Record yourself speaking. I know, nobody likes to hear their own voice, but this tip is incredibly powerful.
When you record yourself, you hear exactly what other people hear. You notice things you never noticed before. Maybe you drop certain word endings. Maybe your sentences are very short. Maybe you say every 5 seconds.
I used to say constantly. Every other sentence. I think, because, I had no idea until I listened to my own recordings.
So here's a simple exercise. Pick a topic, any topic you're interested in. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Talk about that topic and record yourself. Then listen back and identify 1 or 2 things to improve.
Do this 3 times a week. After a month, compare your newest recording to your first one. The improvement will be very motivating, I promise.
Tip number 7, use English in real situations, even small ones. We're not talking about big presentations or job interviews. We mean tiny, everyday moments.
For example, if you travel or live in a place where English is used, order your coffee in English. Ask for directions in English. Say thank you in English. These tiny interactions build confidence over time.
But what if you're not in an English-speaking country? That's okay. You can change your phone settings to English, watch your favorite TV shows with English subtitles, and then switch to no subtitles.
You can also use voice assistants like Siri or Google Assistant and talk to them in English. Ask them questions. Give them instructions. They don't judge your accent.
And one more powerful idea, start an English journal. Not a written journal, but a spoken journal. Each evening, spend 2 or 3 minutes talking out loud about your day in English. What happened, how you felt, what you're planning tomorrow.
This is especially good because you're talking about familiar topics. You know your own life. You don't have to search for ideas. You just have to find the English words for them.
And now our final tip, tip number 8. And we believe this is the most important one. Change your mindset about mistakes.
In school, we are taught that mistakes are bad. Red marks on your paper, lower grades. We learn to be afraid of being wrong.
But in language learning, mistakes are not failures. They are data. Every mistake tells you something. It shows you exactly where your knowledge has a gap. And that gap is your next learning opportunity.
Here's a beautiful way to think about it. When a baby learns to walk, they fall down hundreds of times. Nobody says, this baby is a terrible walker. We say, great job, you're learning. We need to give ourselves the same kindness.
Successful language learners are not people who never make mistakes. They're people who make mistakes, notice them, correct them, and keep going. That's the only way.
So the next time you say the wrong word or use a wrong tense or forget a phrase, smile. Literally smile, because that moment of discomfort, that's where the learning happens.
And one practical technique, after a conversation in English, spend 1 minute thinking about it. What went well? What was difficult? What word did you want but couldn't find? Then go look up that word. Next time, you'll have it.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of all 8 tips before we finish.
Tip 1. Start speaking now. Don't wait to feel ready. Tip 2. Talk to yourself every day to build the habit of thinking in English. Tip 3. Shadow native speakers to copy natural rhythm and intonation. Tip 4. Learn phrases and chunks, not just individual words.
Tip 5. Find a language exchange partner to practice with real people. Tip 6. Record yourself and listen back to identify areas for improvement. Tip 7. Use English in small, real-life situations every single day. Tip 8. Change your mindset. Mistakes are your best teachers, not your enemies.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We really hope these tips give you the confidence to open your mouth and let your English voice out into the world.
Remember, understanding English is already a huge achievement. Now it's time to take the next step. You can do this.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend who's also learning English and send us a voice message, yes, in English, telling us which tip was most helpful for you.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep speaking.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.